Hey everybody, welcome to the channel and welcome to our next playthrough. This is Doug, and our next playthrough is going to be Myth Dark Frontiers. I don't know if you've seen anything about this game yet or not, but it is by Megacon Games, and it is based in the Myth universe. Now, this game, I'm going to tell you, because you're going to watch this and go, that's a pretty cool game, I think I really want it. I don't know how easy it's going to be able to get, because it was a Kickstarter, and Megacon Games has sold to somebody else. I don't know all the details. I haven't followed it yet. So while you might find this game interesting, it may be very, very difficult to get. Now, at the root of this game, it is a kind of a defense game where you're trying to defend the city of, I don't remember what the name of it is. I'll find it for you, though. The big city, which is in the middle here and is represented by that big miniature from the bad guys. Now, there's several different bad guys you get to choose from, and I'm going to choose a specific one, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes as we go through the setup. But I wanted to show you that miniature, because one of the cool things about it is the city takes damage, it actually falls apart. Now, I don't have mine painted or anything, which I would love to do, but haven't had the time to do that yet. Now, I'm going to tell you that there is another playthrough if you want to see that, where I'm going to play mine a little differently with different characters and against different enemy. But if you want to see another great playthrough of this, it's already out. Check out the One Stop Co-op Shop. Colin did a fantastic job, and he had his miniatures painted. I didn't. So he's one step ahead there, and he did a great job. It was a really fun playthrough to watch. I enjoyed it immensely. So that being said, in this video, we're going to cover some of the basics of setup, and we're going to get that done. Now, one of the things that we do when we start off the setup is we set up the miniature. So I've done that, and there's a guide in the rules that show you how to set up the city of Farron Rock. There you go. Thank you very much. Just remember, it's Farron Rock is the city that we're trying to defend against the bad guys. And we really don't know why they're coming to kill us yet, but they are. Yeah. So the first thing you do is set up the board, and that we have, or set up rather Farron Rock in the middle of the board, and get the board out. And we've done that. And I've already set a lot of the tokens aside, etc. I got everything all kind of prepped up, ready to go. But I wanted to walk you through the setup steps, because the next step after this is we're going to choose our heroes. Now, I've already done that, so I'm going to take a look at which heroes we've chosen and what makes them interesting, and I'll show you how they kind of set up. It's pretty cool. Okay, well, let's get to that right now. Okay, so the first of the heroes that we have chosen is the Apprentice. Now, what I've done differently in this is I do have one character that's similar, just because I felt I really needed this character in a playthrough. Is the same, actually, as one of the other characters that were played in Colin's playthrough. But in this one, we're going to play at least 2 different out of 3. We're going to play a 3-player game. It seems the easiest to manage from a solo play perspective. But one of our characters is going to be the Apprentice. Now, you have some stats here, and I think this is strategy. I can't remember lore, guile, and I gotta look them up. I don't remember all the names of them, but they're the basic stats that you're going to have that is going to allow you to do things in the game, right? So, all the different functions of the game, and I'm going to look it up while we're talking, so I can walk you through that. Tactics, intellect, cunning, and spirit. There, I knew I was on the right track there. So those are the specific skills that you have. Those are along here, and those represent D10s. So, for instance, if I was to make a tactics check with the Apprentice, she would only roll 1 D10, and that would have been a very bad roll. And then you can see that she has 3 in her, I guess it's the lore stat or whatever, the intellect stat. That's her best stat. Obviously, she's kind of a magic user. And her spirit and cunning are 2, so she's pretty good there. Now, what is this deck? Because this deck is unique to, well, maybe not just to the Apprentice, but to someone who is a wizard spellcaster type. So this is her deck of spells. And the other characters, you will not see a deck like this. This is an extra deck that has spells in it. And I'm not going to go through them now, but just know that during the course of the game, we're going to draw them and have access to them. They affect the gameplay with the things that she can do. So it's pretty cool. And then the other thing you get out and have set aside for this particular character, well, all the characters, are their cards. Now, their cards are going to consist of always the same thing, and we'll take a look at those. Okay, so you have your battle card. Now, the interesting thing about that is these are all different for each of the characters, or have differences. So they're asymmetrical in that sense. So just because they all have the same types of cards doesn't mean all those same types of cards do exactly the same thing. Fundamentally, they do, because they match the actions in the game. So you can battle, You can travel. Now, I know that these are her cards because the symbol matches. See, right there and right there. And she's not the only character I have in the game that uses these cards, but you'll get the idea as we go. Okay, so we can battle, we can travel, we can encounter, which means we encounter the space. And there's a whole decks of encounter cards for each of the types of spaces: village, dungeon, outlands, sanctuary, ruins, and Fair Rock itself, and the sanctuary. And then we can, so that's an encounter. We can fortify, which is to either gain supplies or build resources in, build a fortification in that space. And we can quest, and there's a quest deck that allows us to complete missions in the game. They're pretty cool. And again, everybody's artwork's going to be different, and everybody's cards are going to be different in what you have to do with them as you play. And we'll just go through that as we play. But I wanted to show you that. But all the different, basically the card actions are the same. So it's battle, travel, encounter, quest, and fortify. Okay, that is our Apprentice. I'll name them all by the time we get going. But that character is going to be our first character. And then our next character is going to be the Brigand. And by the way, I should tell you that the setup rules for each of the characters are on the back. So special rules that they have, you can see that there's some special rules here. And it tells you how to play that specific character. Now in this case, in this one, we're going to have the Brigand. The Brigand has a special token, which we'll talk about in a minute. And you can see that the Brigand's stats are slightly different with I think it's what the Cunning being the highest stat for the Brigand, which would make sense. And of course then the Brigand's cards are kind of attuned and aligned to the special abilities of a Brigand. This is the special token that the Brigand gets, which is Shadows. Now, when your character starts, you start in Shadows, and you can come in and out of Shadows, which give you benefits as you go. And your cards tell you how to interact with the Shadows, how you gain them, how you lose them, etc. And so that's the special ability of the Brigand. It's pretty powerful, actually. I really, in my test run of this, I did, even though this is almost a blind playthrough, I did actually do a test game because there's a lot going on in this game. I want to make sure I had the fundamentals of the rules down, even though I'm sure I'll make mistakes. This character was particularly beneficial. Okay, now that is the Brigand. Okay, let's move on. Third character, if you've watched some other playthroughs, is going to be similar. It's the Soldier character. And by the way, they all have matching miniatures, which you'll see in the game. Of course, I haven't painted them, but that's them right there. And the Soldier is a tactics person, a fighter, right? High health, 9 hit points, and cards are all related to this. Now, the special ability of the Brigand, of the Soldier, now it doesn't start with these, but it starts to get these rage tokens. And when you build up these rage tokens, the cards allow you to do things with them. And they help you fight better, more often, and harder than normal. So those are going to be the 3 characters that we have selected for this session. The Apprentice, the Brigand, and the Soldier. We'll see how they do, because in Colin's playthrough, he did the Acolyte, and I'm referring back to that because it was really good and it was worth watching. It's very different than this will be, I assure you. The Acolyte has the ability to get to use these prayers in a way that really seems powerful to me. We'll see how we do without a power like that can get rid of bad symbol, which is this one, the darkness symbol. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, now let's go on to the next part of our setup. These are the enemy boards, and there's one for each type of enemy. And what it shows you is these 3 tracks: Corruption, Devastation, Despair, that are kind of like timers, triggered events that happen throughout the game. And then the actual enemy units that comprise that army. The tail, in this case, this is the Rat King. The tail is the Wrath and the Rat King right there. See, as you go across the top. Now, and on the flip side, it shows you how you set them up and any special things they have, like their siege abilities, whatever. Any of the special stuff that they have, okay? That's how that works. Now, we're not going to be playing with them. And the other playthrough I saw, they played with the Orcs. What we're going to be playing through with are the Bones. I like undead. I'm a kind of a fan. So we're going to play with the Bones. Now, what does that mean? We're going to set up the Bones according to this. Now, you see it shows Solus, 1 per player, and 8 Shamblers, and then you got the big bad guy, Bones, who's going to be our big enemy. And these come in the form of a bunch of tokens. Now, I do have actually miniatures for these, but I'm not going to use. I'm going to use the tokens because they're more colorful and easy to spot on the board. But that's going to be our enemy. So I'm going to get all the tokens aside. Now, in this case, we're not going to have all 4 of these because we're not playing a 4-player game. We're playing a 3-player game. So one of the Solus will not be in play. We'll put them aside. And that means that we're now, there's chances for more to come out later on, but when it says replace because it's dead, it doesn't include the one that we did not start the game with. So I'm going to put all those tokens aside. Those represent all the enemies. And it also shows you how we're going to set up the board. So in the top corner, you see that we're going to put one there. We're going to put one there, and then the third player goes there, and the fourth player goes. We only have 3, so let's go put them out right now. While we're looking at this, we'll get the board set up. So just to give you an example, one of these Solus will go out here in the Outlands first. If that now on a 2-player game, these 2 would be populated. Then in a 3-player game, you take the next one and you put it up here. The 4th player one would be down here, but we're not playing with 4 players, so we don't have that. Then we have to place the skellies out, the shamblers. They're going to go in various locations on the board. And if you look at the setup, once again, it tells you where they belong. It says, place the bones tokens near the enemy sheet, shuffle the enemy action cards, and we'll look at the enemy action cards in a moment and place them face down near the siege board. Well, we'll do that in a minute, but we're going to do this first. We still have to place these guys out on the board. So you can see that there's going to be one there, one there, one there. We'll get that set up, and you can see what that looks like. So, with the powers of movie magic, we have placed out the enemies, and you can see them on the board. So there's 2 here, 2 here, and you can see that we have completed the setup. Now, let's go back to the board, because now we got to do some other things with this. And by board, I meant the enemy board. So we're going to flip that back over. Now you can see that we got these 3 tracks here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these tokens here, and we're going to place them right there. These are going to track these various areas for us of corruption, devastation, and despair, which also match their cards. Now each enemy has a different set of cards, and again, just like the player cards, while the actions are the same. In other words, you have a devastation card, a scheme card, a despair card, a march card, and a corruption card. The content will be different based on the enemy. So for now, we're going to shuffle these up. We're just going to put them next to the bones board, because we're going to be playing those, and you'll see how that plays out as we move along. So we shuffled those. We're just going to put them aside for now, and we're going to take a look at these enemies. Now this is the base enemy. That's going to be these guys right here. They have 1 health. They have a special ability. It says battle. If the enemy is performing an assault battle during a night action, you'll understand that the attack and defense value of this enemy is increased to 4. So normally their attack and defense is a 2, which means we have to kill them. We have to roll a 2 or better. So in this case, we would have just killed them, but we also would have taken damage because they attack on a 2, or they hit us back on a 2 or less. So when you're rolling to attack, you roll a die. That would be perfect. That means we would kill them. We rolled a 10, but we wouldn't take any damage in return when we fight one of those. And you could fight multiple ones on the boards, etc. Now the Solus are tougher. Those are captains. You can see that's this guy here, the bigger token. It says, battle. If this enemy deals damage to a hero during a battle turn, turn 1 fate die to darkness. That's going to be really bad for us, because the fate dice, the darkness, really has a big impact on things, and we don't have the acolyte. So I'm really curious how this is going to play out. This may be one of those things where if this wasn't play tested with this combination, this could be bad, right? Okay, and then we have the big baddie. His name is Bones, and there he is right there. And he's got, again, 3 health per hero. Got an attack of 7 and a defense of 5. And he's got the ability of life drain. If Bones is in Farron Rock, resolve an assault on Farron Rock, then each hero in or adjacent to Farron Rock suffers 1 damage, and Bones heals 1 damage. Otherwise, discard 1 hope. And you'll understand hope is a resource. There's hope supplies and something else. So we'll look at the resources in a minute. But that's this board set up now and ready to go. And as a result of the back side of that board, we set up the main board as well. So let's move on to the next step. And again, we shuffled this deck and we put it aside. The next thing we set up is our objective sheet. Now, this is going to be a little different for each playthrough as well. You notice we have an influence objective. That's this resource, influence. And these are the 3 resources that we have: hope, supplies, and influence. We're going to have an objective that we need to complete with each one of these. These 3 are going to be face up, and then we're going to have a final main objective that's going to go right here. It'll be face down. So what we do is we have a set of cards, and you can see that there's 4 of them, and we never know which one we're going to get. We're going to get what, we're going to shuffle and get one that's different each time. Now, the reason we turn these up is because they're going to be in a specific location type, and you can only have, they can't duplicate, so you can't have the same objective in the same location. So anyway, let's shuffle this up again. What you're seeing here is what happens if we've completed our objectives on that, and we'll talk about that during gameplay. So we'll take this one. What is it? Converting the faithful. The people of the lands are starting to question their faith, as well as the leadership within the church hierarchy. Inspire the faithful to join arms against the enemy. And this is some of the things that happen, like when we complete an objective, this is what we do. So when we battle, after resolving this action card, so we resolve a battle card, we can do this. We don't have to, we can opt to do it. We can test Spirit H for each minion you defeated, reduce the skill Y1. So if we have a big battle in a space, we can taste that. Again, now, we don't have guys with a lot of spirit. Well, 2 have 2s. That's the best we're going to get. We have no 3s. And if we succeed, we have to spend 4 influence and one hope. So you can see we have to spend those resources. That's going to go right here. That is our influence objective. Now, we're going to go on to our supplies objective and see what that is. Hopefully it's not faith related too, because then we picked the wrong characters. Let's see. Too late now, though, right? Burdened with responsibility. The church needs proof that the heroes aren't just fighting the darkness, but are also helping those in need of assistance. The strength of spirit could... I mean, wow. So we're spirit again. I think I'm going to do it one more try. Because, I mean, I don't want to set us up for complete failure. If we end up with all spirit, that could be bad. Rally, see, this looks more like it for tactic card, right? The soldiers need new armaments and a leader willing to destroy the enemy living in the dungeons. Now you can see that these are in sanctuaries, so we'll deal with that. And then these ones are in dungeons. In fact, I think the one that we pulled out, yeah, we couldn't do that one anyway. We would have had to do that one anyway because it's in a sanctuary as well. So those are in dungeons, and that's what we want. Now the last one we have to do is our hope. And the hope is countered by despair or vice versa. So we're going to draw a new one out and see what we get. First thing we'll look, can't do that one. Man, it really wanted to screw us on that, didn't it? The game. And then we can do this one. Okay, proof of faith. Fear is plaguing the Shadowlands, and support from the church cannot be counted on. The faithful await holy judgment. You must recover the long-lost holy relics in the ruins to rally the populace. Okay, that's going to be our proof of faith, hope objective. Okay, so now we have one more objective. We have these cards here. Now we don't get to know what this one is. This one goes face down, so I'm going to shuffle them up and put that right there, and that's where it stays until we've managed to complete these. Now there's one more step that takes place with this, and I'll show you what that is. You saw that the card itself matched a certain location, like the influence objective is in sanctuaries. So what we have to do is take the 3 tokens, because we're in a 3-player game. If we had 4 players, it would be 4 tokens, and we're going to place these in sanctuaries. Now you're supposed to, I think the players are supposed to take 1 turn doing this each, but I'm playing just with us. So the first one we're going to place obviously is going to be right here next to Farron Rock. We want them close to the city. The next one we will place will be in this one right next to the city, and then the third one and again, if I'm wrong about this, I'm pretty sure this is the way you can choose where they go. It doesn't say, I didn't see anything like the minions in that show you specifically where they have to be. But I think the next one we'll do, we'll put this one here because it's far away from the existing captains. So we'll put it there. It gives us a slight advantage. And now we're going to do the same thing with our supplies. They're going to be in the dungeons. So we take the 3 supply tokens that we need, 1 per player, and we're going to put them in dungeons. So I think what we'll do with that is we'll put 1 here in that dungeon. And wow, this is going to be kind of rough for us because no matter where we go, we're kind of in bad shape. We'll put 1 here in this dungeon, and we'll put 1 up here in this dungeon. So there we go. We got 1 at least in an area that's not as populated by enemies. And then last but not least, we have the proof of faith, which is going to be in the ruins. Now, here are those tokens, again 1 per player, and we're going to place them in the ruins. So obviously we're going to place 1 here right next to us in Farron Rock, place 1 up here in this location in Farron Rock, and then I guess we'll place 1 over here. We're kind of putting a lot of things this way because there's only 1 captain on this side of the board instead of 2, so we'll do that. And that is it for that step. So next up, prepare a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so one of the things we prepare is this quest deck. We just give it a quick shuffle. We're only going to shuffle it once during the game, and then it's going to sit in this quest card location, and we're going to find out what our first quest is going to be. And I'll turn it up now. It doesn't really matter, so that you can see what it is. Okay, so we got that, and our first quest is going to be Unlocking Ancient Evil. That means that we have to make a spirit check. Every single card we get is going to be faith-based when I chose not to take a faith-based hero. Wow. Okay, Unlocking Ancient Evils. You finally catch up to the adherent as he begins to open the portal. Stop the summoning. So we have to do this. This is going to be our first quest. It's going to take place in a ruins, so we can complete this quest in a ruins, and it's going to be faith-based. So we know we're only going to have 2 dice. We've got to find some other ways to get benefits on that. And then the other thing we do, and we'll do this off camera, is there's a encounter deck for every single type of space. So ruins matches the ruins. There's ones for, is there one for layers? I believe there is. Yeah, layers. No, there's not. It's Outlands, Dungeons, Sanctuary, Village, Ruins, and Farron Rock itself, the city of Farron Rock, which is right here. So I'm gonna shuffle these up. Then I'm not gonna do it on camera. Just shuffle them all up for you, so you know that they're shuffled, and we'll get going. And there's tons of other tokens that we're not using, guys. Here are the resource tokens. They're gems, so they match this. So this is influence. This is hope, and this is supplies. That's what they represent. We start with none, but as we do gather them, you will see them start to pile up here. What else do we have to do? Well, I have to shuffle all of those cards, and like I said, there's a metric butt ton of other tokens and cards that we're not using in this specific playthrough because of the way we've set it up. There's also a couple of add-ons that I got from the Kickstarter that I'm not playing with. I'm only playing with the base game. Trust me, there's enough going on with the base game itself. And then there's other tokens for all the different other characters. For example, the Archer has these little arrow tokens that he can collect. And so it's just giving you an idea. There's tokens for different characters that do different things, right? And so that's basically that. Now the other thing that we have to do is we do need to set up the, we do need to roll our first, I think we roll them right away, I'll check, but we have to get our fate dice set up and ready to go. This set is correct. So we're going to gain our fate dice, we're going to roll them, and that's going to be our starting fate. Oh, good news, there is no darkness in there, so there's a couple of rage, and you'll see how these work. A guile, a arcane, and another guile. So that's what we got set up with in the beginning. And that's going to play into a lot of the card actions that we have available. We get to spend these on things that we can do. Now, what do we want to do first? Well, the first thing we want to do is start setting up our world, basically, and trying to enhance what we need to do. One of the ways we can do that is by getting these fortifications out. These fortifications give us supplies. We get to collect supplies as we get more of those out. So in the first turn, which you won't see in this video because this is just going to be a setup video, we will probably get out of the city of Farron Rock, which you're probably asking, well, Doug, the city of Farron Rock is a big miniature. Where are your guys? Where are the guys that are in Farron Rock? Well, here they are. There is a separate tile for the city of Farron Rock here, and all 3 of our heroes are currently in it, getting ready to adventure out. So that's where that is, and it stays onto the side of the board. Now, enemies can go into Farron Rock, and that can get really bad for us if things go wrong and we have assaults in Farron Rock, and it could hasten us toward the siege. Now, just to give you some examples of some of the things, there's basically a couple trigger points in the game. As we play, if we do not complete those objectives that we have, by the time that we go into a siege, I think we can no longer complete them. Or the main objective. Then we just have to fight the siege. But if we've been able to complete all of our objectives and turn this one over, we can still complete it, even though we're in a state of siege. In other words, that Farron Rock is being overrun and besieged, and we have to defend it. Now, hopefully, we do well enough that that doesn't happen. But I have a feeling, based on some of the things that come out, we're going to have a bumpy start. Like I said, I did not take a faith-based character, which is rough because we don't have anything that helps us with faith-based initiatives, and we have several that are in play already, including the fact that we're fighting undead. But, you know, I just thought it'd be interesting to fight the undead without the influence of the church. And frankly, I want to see if the Acolyte is imbalanced at all. It seemed imbalanced to me. It seemed like there was a really massive advantage. But we're going to have cool encounters in the various locations. There's, like that deck I showed you for the ruins. There's an equal deck for every other type of location. So we're going to see a lot of things. It gives a lot of playability, a lot of replayability, a lot of different enemies. You saw the different enemies in the game, and they interact with the world quite differently, and as do the characters, which makes it very interesting. We'll see how all this plays out as we go through the playthrough. So essentially that is it, guys. That is the setup for Myth Dark Frontiers by Megacon Games. Again, I was really excited about this because I like Myth anyway. I played a bunch of Myth early on. I haven't played it in a while. I think it's making me feel like I want to bust it out. Maybe use the miniatures instead of the tokens, but the miniatures are just gray because I haven't painted them. So all the undead miniatures and stuff, I have them. We could use them, I suppose. I may get crazy and do that. I don't know. Probably not. Just because these tokens, I also don't want to confuse people and think that these miniatures come with the game, because they don't. Though they would be from the Myth dungeon crawler game. Now the miniatures for the heroes are in the game, but not the enemies. They're all tokens because there's so many of them. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it. And in the next video, we're just going to get right into the gameplay. So I wanted to show you the setup because the setup is kind of, it's a little complicated, and it takes a little bit of time. You have to do a number of steps to get set up, and that's okay though. And I love the way the turn interactions work and how those I showed you the action cards that we have to play and how they interact with the world and how the world interacts back. It's really unique, and the artwork's really good. I enjoy it. The artwork on all the different locations is great. You can see it here. We'll zoom in on some of them as we play. And remember, the main thing that we have to do is clear and complete all those objectives. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. This is not a short or easy game. Like most cooperative games, it's got its challenges. Now, as we gather resources, they will pile up here. We'll be able to spend those resources to do a number of things, and we'll be constantly rolling these fate dice, which means the whims and waves of fate will change as we play the game, and it'll influence what we can do and the types of actions, or actually the power of our actions during the turns. It's a really neat mechanic. I love it, actually. So guys, thanks so much. I hope you appreciate this video, and I certainly appreciate you and all the subscriptions and everything you do. I thought this would be a fun one. I hope you enjoy it. I have so many games I gotta get to the table. One of them that I'm still learning right now is this one, Unknown. It's really cool. Had a bit of a learning curve in the rules, so I'm still reading through that. I also finally got a copy of Spirit Island. Colin, I got a copy of it finally. Anyway, we're going to be playing that too, and a bunch of other things. I got so much happening. I just cannot get it all to the table. And this one's going to be probably a bit of a beast from a playthrough series, probably going to be a number of episodes. In fact, this one, this first one is not exactly short. It was just the setup. So we will see you in the next video on this, and I hope you're looking forward to our apprentice, brigand, and soldier as they battle against the darkness of the undead that are going to try and assault Farronwalk. And hey, if you're still here at the end, let's do this. Tell me what you want to name the apprentice, the brigand, and the soldier. I would really appreciate it, and we'll name them. Now remember, the apprentice is a female. I believe that the brigand is too. Well, actually, I think all these characters are women. I know that this one is. Nope, I think the brigand is... Well, the brigand's kind of gender neutral, I guess. But it looks like a woman to me. So these might all be female characters, which is fine. And there's the apprentice is definitely one. And so, we could just say, it's Charlie's Angels. There's 3 of them. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on with that, and we'll see you in the next video. So give me some names, and I'm looking forward to playing this through for you. And I promise I still have my update coming very soon. I just had some major bumps in the road that have prohibited me from putting that up because I didn't want to put something up and then have to retract it. So anyway, guys, I hope to talk to you soon. By the way, that does not affect the giving away of the Darkest Night game. That is a locked-in done deal. I will be giving that away to one of my Patreons. So, one of my patrons on Patreon. So, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for your patronage. Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate it. More to come. Let's see if we can keep Farronwalk in one piece so it doesn't break apart. And we'll get through it and see if we can win this game. Take care, guys.